I'm Audrey Kirshner. For those of you that don't know me, um, I have been in the marketing space for over 25 years, both at the entrepreneurial level and in the corporate, Fortune 500 market. And so I started dabbling in AI early last year, so 2022, got hooked on it, and have been implementing systems ever since. So I'm what you would call an early adopter. And what I found is that businesses want to do this. They're not quite sure what or how to do it. And so I put together this webinar workshop to kind of walk you through the high level of all of the possibilities um, for you and your business. So this is specifically designed for small business, not big, huge corporations. So let's get into it. So today we're going to chit chat about what AI is and what it's not, right? 'Cause there's a lot of misconceptions and stuff floating around out there. I've got some case studies to go over with you for top line growth and decreasing spend, right? Because both of those are really important. Then once we get you excited, I'm going to talk to you about the right way to create prompts. And then I have an exercise that I want you to do as part of this so that you can start developing use cases for your business. And then we're going to wrap this up talking about things that you need to do if you're going to start implementing these type of things. Okay, so what is AI, artificial intelligence? A lot of people think it is a technical tool, that you have to be a technical person. But what we're finding and what we found over the last 6 months is that if you have really good communication skills or in the process of developing communication skills, that's the skill set you need for working with this type of artificial intelligence, which is called generative AI. So we're not going over like how to build a large language model. That is where it becomes highly technical. But the tools that are available to us today, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, these are prompt-based tools so that you don't need to know coding. And really think of these as a partner, a companion, a virtual assistant that is helping you do human type tasks, right? It does require some human intelligence and some discernment. As part of you working with it. Give me 1 second. I got someone trying to come in. There we go. All righty. So that's what it's not is it's not a scraping tool. Like when you ask it a question, it's not like search. It doesn't go out, find the answer, and bring it back. It does what we would do, right? We do some research and we come up with thoughts and opinions and ideas of what that could be. It just does it much faster. And it does utilize the internet, but it's also utilizing what it's been trained on. So now let's start going through the various different parts of how and where you can use it. And so we're going to start with marketing. One, that's my area of expertise. And two, it's usually the question I get asked the most. How can I use it for things like blog article writing, short form content, search engine optimization research, and marketing research and analysis? That's the one that people find most scary. So let's talk about blog articles, right? People don't like writing articles. When we were in school, it was the dog ate my homework. So what we have done is we've created prompts that get creating a single article, a really good article, 2,000 words that a user actually wants to read and get information. What we call is that it's useful and helpful, down to about an hour, right? For a person that doesn't do this all the time, this is days or a week to do. Um, for us, even without artificial intelligence, it's 6 to 8 hours. So it's not just a single prompt that you're going to create inside of something like ChatGPT. It's not like write me an article about X. That produces garbage. What we have created and what I recommend is multi-stepped prompting, all within the same chat window. So think of it as you're having a conversation with a virtual assistant who is writing an article for you. So you want to start with providing it a title and an article summary. You can do some research there. I'll talk about how we're going to do that in SEO research. of what the article is going to be about, its context. Then, when you give it that, it's got the idea right, ask for an outline. How long do you want it to be? 2,000 word article outline, 500-word article outline. Um, how much you want written the, will factor in on what the outline is created. Then go back and forth a little bit on the outline, tweak this. It's like, yeah, these points for item number 3 aren't quite what I was thinking. Let's make it this instead. Once you have a fully fleshed out outline, then ask it to write the full article. And you're going to get a pretty decent article coming out of the gate. Then what you want to do is read through that article and then section by section have it tweaked. In this section, I'd like to see an example of what we're talking about here to help the reader totally understand it, right? And it'll rewrite it. Then you're going to get a fully fleshed out article, and that's what that tweaking is, back and forth. Once the article is completed, that's when you want to ask for your frequently asked questions. If you're doing search engine optimization, all of your articles should have frequently asked questions in it, because that is what the search engines, including the large language model search engines that are coming, that are here, like Perplexity, they look for, because we as humans ask questions while we're searching, while we're looking for things. And so this helps lift that content up much, much easier. And then you also want to have references and links. So if part of it is saying, hey, the majority of people do XYZ, you can then take that section of the article. I recommend using perplexity.ai. It is the best at this because that's kind of its job, is it goes out and finds facts and figures and then gives you valid reference links to support what it found. ChatGPT 4.0 kind of sort of does this, so does Quad, but it makes up stuff a lot. Perplexity is much more refined for this. So throw it out there, ask it for facts or to support your claim, and then links, right? You want those backlinks. That helps Google and the large language models understand what you're connecting to and that it's valid. And all of that is designed to push the article up so that a human being can read it. So now I want to move on to short form content, which is, in my mind, everything else, right? So it is social media, creating copy for digital ads, image and videos, and if you're doing any type of voice work, right? Podcasting, that type of thing. These prompts are a little bit simpler, but you still might need to refine them. So for social media, give me 20 posts for a specific platform on a specific topic, and then don't forget to ask for your hashtags. If you want it to feel like it's more thought leaderish, or if you want it about a topic within a topic, you can negotiate or have the conversation on that. I like this. Let's rewrite it, but let's rewrite it in the form of something funny or in a question that they can answer, right? That's where you get to refinement after that. Anybody who's done digital advertising knows that writing copy for digital ads is hard because it has to be extremely short. When you get to the platforms that are really sophisticated, that do the A/B testing for you, such as Google Ads, it's asking you for 10 headlines, long headlines, description, short, and they all have character limits. Um, I find it tedious and hard to come up with 15 different ways to say the same thing. But you can do it very easily with ChatGPT. Give it all the criteria. Here's my topic. I need 10 headlines that are 15 characters, 5 that are 90, and descriptions. And it's going to give you all the mix and matches that you need. You can refine them a little bit. Works great. Video creation and image creation. So image creation has come a long way in the last, I would say, 9 months. There's great tools out there. If you want just decent pictures, you can definitely use Canva. You can definitely use ChatGPT's or OpenAI's Dolly, and there's a couple others out there. But if you want something that's really, really sophisticated, perfect, you'll need to kind of invest some time in something like a Midjourney. There are Midjourney competitors that are starting to come out because everybody's seeing the value of Midjourney. So they're first to market, but they might get swallowed up by who comes next. It's a little more advanced prompting, But the very cool thing is with Midjourney is you can take all of the things to learn how to prompt, upload that to ChatGPT and say, okay, help me write a prompt for Midjourney. You give it a basic description, it translates that into Midjourney, and off you go and get that. So there are ways around that. And then for voiceover, the sky's the limit. This technology came out early and it came out pretty well. We've got 11 labs that can clone a voice really, really well. And it has its own voices, which are better than what's most out on the marketplace. So, again, you've got tools out there that can create video, create voice to go with the video, right? They can take your long format video, shorten it down, and create voiceover for it. And those voices are good. They're okay. If you're looking for real high quality, like for podcasting or whatever, then you definitely go with something like an 11 Labs. Okay, let's talk about search engine optimization research. Nobody likes doing this type of research. Most people don't understand it. They try to follow a formula. So this is going to make it really simple. Again, your large language models have training data on doing SEO. So we're going to leverage that. You're going to ask them to act as an SEO research expert. You're going to say who is writing the article. Could be me, right? If it's your article for your company, it's you, right? The general topic and what you're trying to achieve with the article. See, this is important, right? Because what you write and how you write it depends on who you want to consume it, especially as a business. So, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to put an article out there that people will read it and see, wow, I love what they wrote. They resonate with me. Let me go use their product or service, right? That's for most of us on this call, that's what you're trying to achieve. And then once you have that and it understands it, then you ask for a general list of questions around that topic. Generate questions, right? What are the types of things that people would ask? You're going to look at that list, things are going to resonate with you. Maybe you ask for a second round. And then depending on which ones you like, you can then create a list, ask it to create a list of article titles and a keyword phrase that supports that question. That keyword phrase is really important for you because as you write the article, you're going to want to embed that in there. Not a lot, but just enough. Usually 6 or 7 times does the trick. And so you can do it naturally. And then when you pick that one, you want it to write the final title, the meta description based on your search intent. So let me explain. The meta description, believe it or not, you already know exactly what that is. When you do a search, there's that title and it gives you that little blurb underneath to tell you what the page is about. Depending on how good that description is whether or not you decide to click. And it's like that for all of us. So you want a really good meta description so that the person clicks through. Otherwise, they're not going to get to the full article. And that's why you ask it. So spend some time reading it. Try to look at it from the point of view of the person and say, wow, would I click on this? Do I want to learn about that? And then search intent. Pretty much for everybody on the call, you have what is called commercial search intent, meaning you're a business owner and you're trying to educate them enough to buy your product or service. There's other types of intent that are out there, strictly knowledge, like, why is Mars cold or hot? Why is it this color? That's just basic knowledge stuff. So as you go through this and you create that prompt, make sure you're telling it search and commercial search intent. That's what Google calls it, so it's going to know what that is. Okay, research and analysis. So this is where all of marketing and sales starts. Understanding who your audience is, how they feel about things, what they want as part of it. So the big top things in research and analysis are target audience and persona research. If you've ever talked to anybody in marketing or branding, they're going to tell you, do you have a target audience? Do you know who your people are? Do you have a persona, right? Because we use that for everything. You would actually use it too for all that blog writing. Then the next thing is sentiment analysis. How do they feel? So most of us on this call are too small to be able to do brand analysis. People just are not talking about our specific brand. We are not Nike. We are not Apple. But what we can do is topic and industry sentiment analysis, which means how do they talk about, how do they feel about topic X? How do they feel about industry Y? How do they feel about HVAC? How do they feel about, you know, getting their air conditioner cleaned every spring? Do they think it's important? That kind of thing. And then product or service gap analysis is people out there say they want things and your company is offering things. Is there a gap between what they want and what you're offering? And if so, can you fill that gap? How do you fill that gap? And then analysis of summarized information. So we collect, as business owners, we're collecting a lot of data, client data, customer feedback, testimonials over time. This might be 6 months, it might be a year, but what you want the ability to do is analyze that. And that's where a large language model like ChatGPT or Claude comes in because it can help you with all of this. So if you know who your target audience is at a high level, you can have a conversation with it about that. A lot of this, you may not have the data. So to go and get the data is actually pretty cool. You can go out, look at forums, Quora, Reddit, all your social media channels, X, Facebook, and then generally find who you want to target as an audience, right? Or to do sentiment analysis. This works across the board. Grab that data, scrape it, pull it into the large language model and have a conversation about it, right? These are the types of people that I think are my client, right? You can upload client data, you can pull profiles from Facebook or pull profiles from Quora or on LinkedIn, and then it'll take and reverse engineer a target audience for you. And then you can add details to it. Well, I also think this person that's my target audience believes in X, Y, and Z. It'll help you craft that. Same thing with topics, right? You can go to Reddit and find a subreddit on any topic or industry. I mean, any, and start pulling data out from there. And that's really great for doing gap analysis. I did that for a client where we were trying to educate a specific group of people on a topic. And so I went and found that topic, scraped all the data, and I said, hey, how do they feel about this topic and what do they need? Sure enough, we found two things that they wanted that my client wasn't serving. And so we updated and added the services to include that. And then summary of information. Let's say you don't have a whole lot of information about a specific topic or something that you're trying to do. You can actually go and collect it. And I'm going to talk more about how you can automate this later. But let's say you go out daily and you collect information on a specific topic. Um, let's say it's health trends, right? You just want to see general health trend data, where the market is going, you collect it. You can take that collection over time, upload it, and have any one of these conversations about it. Okay. So now let's move on into customer service. And we're going to talk about AI agents. And I'm going to give you some use cases to hopefully kind of spur some inspiration on how you can use AI agents. So what AI agents are is in ChatGPT, they call them GPTs. Claude has it. You'll hear chatbots. These are not traditional chatbots where they have to be programmed to within an inch of their life. Basically, what they are is you taking a large language model, deciding is it for internal or external use, and you're feeding it the information you want it to become an expert on. So if ChatGPT is all knowing and everything, you're kind of taking that model and honing it down to one specific area. And so I don't like calling them chatbots anymore because one, it gets them confused with traditional chatbots, and they're really more than that. They're like agents, and they can be extremely fine tuned. So there are tons of platforms out there where you can pull up one of these agents. They give you templates, you configure it, and you go. So you can create a customer service one for your outbound external client questions. We'll talk more about different options there. Or what you're seeing on the screen is what I do internally is I create an agent that is fine tuned individually on each of my clients, right? Their data is in there, who they are, all the stuff we can put in there. And then my entire team, when we have to do things, we use that agent to help us. I need to write an article for X client. I need to create a graphic for the client. And so it pulls that information and helps us generate this specifically on the client. So, and I have one for me. So anytime I write or do anything for me, I go in and I use my agent. So let's review some use cases on what you can create agents on. Lead generation, right? You can create an agent that its purpose, its goal is to steer the conversation towards providing information, being useful and helpful, and then scheduling an appointment or getting them to make a telephone call. So you give it what the end goal is and give it all the information it needs to be able to be useful and helpful, and it'll have that conversation. Just like if I were to have that conversation. I mean, I've seen bots out there where it's like you ask a question, it goes, great, here's a piece of reference material. All it's doing is serving up links from a knowledge base. This is completely different. This is answering the question, maybe asking some questions and saying, great, we can help you with that. Would you like to schedule an appointment? Okay, here, do these next steps. Someone will get back to you, you're scheduled, whatever it's supposed to do. Lead magnet sign up. So lead magnet is something you give away to get the person's email address so you can keep talking to them, hopefully in a newsletter. But you can have it take a quiz, play a game, answer questions, and then put together some type of a result. And then the agent will be like, that's great. Give me your email address so I can give you the results. And then it can have the results emailed out or given right on screen. Similar, but a little bit of a shift is requesting quotes and estimates. In certain industries, if you don't pick up your phone, you pretty much lose the lead because really they're what I call dialing for dollars, right? They want pricing so they can make a decision, right? HVAC guys, roofing guys, all these guys. So you can actually create an agent that will create pricing based off of how you do it. So if it's something that you do standardized in an Excel spreadsheet, you can upload that or create that, and the agent will actually do the estimating the same way you would. If you are customer service focused and heavy and you have people entering requests, trouble tickets, needing answers to questions, you can streamline an agent for that as well. You can even add in some optional problem solving, which I think is great. Like, can it answer basic questions? Like, my garbage disposal is not working. Well, did you try these three things? Oh, great, I did. I'm good, right? Or no, I didn't. As opposed to just, again, the whole link spamming thing that the traditional ones do today. Same. So general questions. This one's a little bit different. Let's say you sold a large system or service. You can program an agent to be able to answer any and all questions about that. Create a QR code, and when the person scans it, they can have a conversation with that product or service that you've defined. So let's say they bought a hammer from you. You can QR code the hammer and they can have a conversation with the hammer. It's kind of a really different, unique way of doing it. So let's say you have supplements that you're selling, or if it's a program, right? You can give it on a card and they can have a conversation with the program, the supplement, the car, whatever. And the really cool thing, it now with 4.0 coming out through ChatGPT, Claude doesn't have this yet, is you can talk with an image. So you can have a bot where if they're education in nature and someone uploads an image, let's say it's of a electrical outlet plug that looks like it could be dirty, but maybe it's burned out, upload it. Hey, is this okay? Do I need to replace it? It's going to look at it and go, no, those look like scorch marks to me. You probably need to replace it. Great. Can you help me? Yeah, here's a step-by-step guide on how to replace an outlet. Or no, it's just dirty. Just make sure that you turn off the breaker before you clean it so no water gets in there. So it's situational. Um, so those are just a couple of different ways. I'm sure there's like millions of other things. There's other things I've thought of since I put this together, that you could do. All right, let's talk a little bit about business operations. We're going to talk about emailing because we all have to write lots and lots of emails every day. Diagrams, workflows. For business owners, we need process. I'm going to show you a cool, nifty thing inside of Google Sheets. And then we're going to talk about automation. All right. So, email. As of now, most of your big email systems have AI integrated to help you write. So, Google Workspace has Gemini. It might be something you have to turn on. They don't make it easy. I love Google, but sometimes they don't make things easy. Microsoft Office Suite has Copilot. I don't know if that is a purchased add on feature, depending on the level you buy. So you got to double check that. And then most of your customer relationship management systems, your CRMs, like HubSpot, have it built in as well. And if you're a Notion user, if you're using it for project management, other things, they really dove deep. Both of these, HubSpot and Notion, dove pretty deep, pretty hard into the AI space. Where in Notion, it can search across your entire Notion database to pull things back for you. The tools are good. For me, they're okay. When I really need help writing an email, I actually go back out to ChatGPT and pull it back in because then I can give it more context and back and forth. But for a first draft, a lot of these are good. Okay. So diagrams and charts. There's a tool that I use. It's called whimsical.ai. And what it is it has artificial intelligence built into it, where if you give it a process step by step, it's going to create you a workflow, which I think is pretty cool because you don't have to sit there and create boxes and place them. And it's about 99% correct. And I've done it where I've put a detailed process in there and it's just minor tweaking afterwards. Another cool way to use this is for brainstorming, mind mapping, and road mapping. So let's say you have a meeting with your team about what you're going to be doing in 2025. We want to implement AI. What does this look like? What's the roadmap? Make sure you're recording all of these meetings so you can get a transcript. Because then what you could do is take that transcript. I would start with scrubbing it up inside of ChatGPT or Claude and say, hey, listen to this transcript, pull out my roadmap, pull out my mind mapping, my brainstorming. And it's going to clean up your data, right? Then you can take that, throw it into Whimsical, and then it will put it into a visual for you. I do know that the other tools have charting capability, and but the problem is there's an image. They're very difficult to edit. And the nice thing about Whimsical is that you can have everything all in one place and you can go in and edit them whenever you need to. So organizationally, I like using a diagramming tool and not so much just having it as an image that gets spit out of the large language models. Okay, so data cleanup. Um, I've got salespeople on here. Make sure you're paying attention to this one because this one's going to be a lifesaver. How many times have you gotten a spreadsheet or a list from someone, whether it's handwritten or in person? They're like, great. Now you got to upload it to a system. So you try pulling it into a spreadsheet, it's kind of all garbagey. So inside of Google Sheets, you can create it, you can get an add on called GPT for Sheets. You can look that up, it's on YouTube, and it's going to help you clean up that data. So here's a little example of what that looks like. So you have dirty names where there's stuff in there, capitalizations are all weird. We got a junior. And basically, what this is saying is that it gave a map of what it's supposed to look like. And then it says, do it for the rest on the list. And you can do that with email, right? How many times have we seen emails come in all weird when we export them as CSV? Again, you give it a couple of good examples and then tell it to make the rest like it. So this is a short list and it takes a little bit of time, but it's a lot faster than you doing it by hand. And you can do it for thousands of records. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, you can do this type of thing if it's a little more complicated inside of ChatGPT. And I'm going to start playing around with it with the new OI model, right? Which is really more designed for data. But I have gone in, given it a spreadsheet, like I upload the entire spreadsheet and says, here's how this is laid out. Here's how I want it laid out. I had something where it was like, it was separating one person's data into four columns and I needed it all on one row and I had 300 records. It redid the whole thing. And that way I could use it. So this one's a huge time saver when you're trying to figure out how to scrub data. Oh, There we go. I want to advance. It wants to keep playing. I want to advance. Okay. Let's talk about automation. So, some of you may be familiar with Zapier automation. It has been around for a long time. It allows you to take two different systems that are owned by two different companies and have them share data and do things with that data. That is the simplistic view. It goes in and creates that roadmap, and then it executes and runs and moves the data and does the things with the data. Um, in the past, you had to kind of know how that was going to look like. What system A, what am I trying to do? Where system B? What Zapier started to include, and they'll probably be in beta for years because things are changing so fast, is that you can put in what you want the workflow to be. Like, I want to take data from my website when people fill out a form, and then I want to make a copy of that and put it into my CRM system and my email system. And here's the way I want that data to look. You put that prompt in, and it's going to give you a pretty decent template to start with, that you can then just go connect your accounts and fill everything in. But now with generative AI, you can actually include that generative AI in that automation process. This is a game changer. So things that you needed someone to write something, think about, you now have that virtual assistant embedded into your automation. So let me give you a couple of examples. So on the left, we have extract info from an image and store it. That's the basic premise. So what this and I think a lot of my sales and marketing people love this because you meet someone, they hand you a business card, and you go home and you've got five of them sitting there, and you don't want to put them into the CRM system. And some of the systems that are out there today, where you can scan them and add them, won't go directly to your CRM system. They're little silos. So here, it's like you take a picture of the card, you upload it to a Google Drive. ChatGPT 4.0, our image model, looks at it, pulls the data, puts it in a format that can then be added to a spreadsheet. But it doesn't stop there. I say spreadsheet, you can say HubSpot CRM, you can say Job Nimbus, you can say put it in my email contacts, right? You can have it go wherever you want it to go, right? And then the sky's the limit from there. The next one is really, really popular with a lot of my clients. So we know that we need to get Google reviews, but hopefully you also know that we need to respond to all of those Google reviews. Every single one that comes in, you need to interact with it, because when Google sees that you're interacting with the people that are giving you reviews, which are probably clients or something like that, it sees that you're engaged, and it actually helps boost you in search, right? It wants to give all of us people that other people really like and know that they engage with. So what I created was an automation that it sits and waits for someone to put in a review against a specific account. It pulls that review into a chatbot agent, which is already pre-programmed to answer this in a specific way about the company. If there's questions or anything, it creates the answer, puts the answer back into the Google review as a response, and then also sends whomever, usually the client, a copy of, like, hey, this is how we responded to this review. So they could go and go, oh, that's great. Or, oh, I want to tweak that. And then they can go in and do that. Cuts down on all of that time of having to wait for a review to come in and respond to it. So earlier, remember when I was talking about um, gathering data over time? So what I did is I created a automation that gathers and summarizes information over time. So in this example, I am, me personally, I'm very interested in energy resources for AI and cryptocurrency. These two technologies take an enormous amount of energy to run, right? The computers are big, they're sucking up the energy. So I'm also watching alternative energy. So for years, we've been able to set up RSS feeds that hit our inbox on specific topics, right? And so I set up a combined one that says, give me everything on AI energy usage, and I want to see about alternative energy sources, specifically solar and nuclear, small nuclear reactors. That's where things are going. I want to see how the two are coming up. I get an email summarizing 4 to 5 different topics every day. Sometimes I read it, sometimes I don't. What this does is this monitors my inbox, waits for that email, takes it, digests all the information, writes me a summary, and then puts it in a Google Doc. And then I definitely go review that Google Doc either every week or every other week. So if you're trying to keep up with your industry trends from a specific person, this is something you can do. And the nice thing is I've had this running for 3 or 4 months now. I can then take that document in and of itself, go in, analyze it, and pull out 6 months worth of data over time information because the information is different when I first started it versus today. So this is how you're able to combine different tactics that I'm talking about today together for your own needs. Okay. Hopefully you found something in there that piques your interest, makes you want to start playing with artificial intelligence, maybe a little bit more. So let's talk about how you're going to do some of this stuff. You need to learn how to what we call prompt, which is give it really good instructions, communicate effective instructions. Then we're going to have a little exercise where you're going to walk through figuring out use cases for your business. And then I'm going to spend a little time talking about how you maintain your beast, right? Because that's what this is going to turn into. Okay, creating prompts. That's what we call it in the industry, but you can also think of it as create as effective communication. And think about this, you're not talking to a system, you're not talking to a computer. Think of this as you're talking to a brand new virtual assistant that you brought into your company. How would you help them? So, a very smart one that pretty much knows everything on the planet. Let's caveat it that way. So, first, you're going to give it a role, right? You're going to take all that knowledge and you're going to narrow it down to one specific thing. Act as an expert in, right? For me, a lot of times that's marketing, that's branding, that's writing. You can also give it a person, use a person too. Act as if you are Tony Robbins and help coach me. That's a concept in there. Or if there's a health guru, or if there's someone in the technology space, then you have to give it context. Who's it for? Who are we doing all this for? And what are we trying to achieve? Very similar to what I was talking about with the blog article. If you give it the context and who it is, it's going to be able to help you. And then I don't know about you, but when someone says, here's something brand new, and here's what I'm asking you to do. And by the way, this is an example of what it looks like that I want. All of a sudden, the light bulb turns on. So give it examples, right? 3 to 4 is best. If you can only come up with one, that's fine. But the 3 to 4 different examples gives it different options to think about. And then make requests in steps. It learns as it goes. If you remember back to my blog article, I didn't say write me 3 FAQs about this title. I waited until the very, very end to get the FAQs. So it had the entire article to reference, similar to how we would learn too. It's like the more information you give us, the better we're going to learn. And then you can ask for formatting. I always try to do that at the end. Sometimes I forget in the middle, like really how I want it formatted. But if you forget, it's okay. It gives you out all that data. And you can say, give me it in a list, give me in a table. It may default to that sometimes, but you can always change it, right? A lot of times I'll say, can you give me a file so that I can upload it to a system? And then it gives me a table. I'm like, well, a table's not useful. Convert this to a CSV file. And then it gives me a file I can actually download and then upload someplace else. Alrighty. So I want to walk you through an example of what a prompt looks like. This is one that I've created and it's super simple, right? We're doing a video script. I figure that's pretty applicable because most people want to do social media and they want to do video, but they don't know how to know what to say on that video or even attach things to it. So the prompt is on the left, and you'll see that it follows the guidelines of what we talked about. I tell it to act as an expert. I give it context, um, including the channel. Now, when you see anything in these brackets, this is slightly technical, but not really. Those are variables. And what you can do to make your life easy, because sometimes these prompts get really long, is you put the variables at the end and you type them in. So it knows that channel is equal to YouTube. Enough about that. Um, give it who it's for, my target audience, the purpose, my offering. And this one, I asked for 2 offerings, right, to be added to my script. And then the instructions. What do I want? Give me 10 video topics as a list, right? I want to see it as a list. I don't want it in paragraph format with one sentence summary. So I kind of know where it's trying to come from when it gives me the list. And review and confirm that you understand what I'm asking for, right? So I wanted to make sure we're on the same page. And then this last part is also a really neat thing to do. Ask me any questions you have to help me create the list, right? Sometimes I don't know what I don't know to ask, but if you ask it to ask you, it will. Oh, here's the 5 things I think I still need to know. And then you, like I said, you plug these in, you get a list out, and then you move on to creating the script because you built the list. And so what I chose from the list that was generated was, 10 essential tools for business owners and side hustlers. Because you'll notice that that was part of what I was asking for my target audience. So now I'm saying, and it's all within one chat. It learns as it goes. Write me a script outline for a video, the length I want the video, um, and then I say from whatever number on the list it was. And then ask me any additional questions just to make sure. And then topic specific notes, right? 10 tools. I knew there were 2 or 3 I wanted to include, and then I wanted it to give me options. And so that's what we came up with. And then I got a whole entire script that I could throw into 11 Labs and have voiceover done. Okay. So here is the exercise I want you to do. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think of a list of your top 5 problems, frustrations, repetitive, boring tasks. If it makes you swear, put it on the list, right? Things that you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this, right? Put that list together. Then, when you're done with that list, for each item on the list, I want you to ask these 3 questions, right? Can I train an intern or a VA to do the task for me at a high quality level? Don't worry about if you can, or how, right? I want you to look at it and go, yeah, if I had the time and the will, I would train someone. 2 is this task one that you perform regularly and consistently enough to make it worth automating? Because that's essentially what you're doing with a prompt in a large language model that you create is you're giving someone a set of instructions they can use over and over again. But fine tuning that, it takes a little time. And then is it a text heavy process? All right, so take the next 5 minutes. If you have questions, let me know. All right, we're going to wrap this up in about a minute. So as you're wrapping this up, let's say you've got five there, and some of these you answered yes to, some of these you answered no. The one I would pick to start with first is the one that hits all three criteria with a yes. Um, if you've got one that's two, you do that one. And if number two is a no, like you only do it a couple times a year, throw that at the bottom of the list. Um, it may annoy you enough where you want to do a process for it, even though you only do it a few times a year. But if you got something you're doing more often, that's going to save you real time. Does anyone want to share one of their problems, frustrations, things that they want to look at trying to add some automation or using prompts for?
I could share a couple.
Sure. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Creating email lists and business cards and emails. I love that you talked about um, the business cards and automation that we could do with that. That would be amazing. I'm curious too. I just came up with this one. I wonder if it can scrape local business emails off of websites.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes,
that
there are
would be
ways. Yeah, there
amazing.
there are Chrome extensions you can add on that will scrape the data and then use a process of cleaning up that data. So it's probably two or three of the things that I talked about, but yeah, you can automate the whole thing. You can say every Monday, go to this website, scrape for new things, throw a deduper in there, and then have it upload to your CRM system, or have it sent out to a specific person. Like the sky's the limit with that, where it just
Wow.
automatically does it.
I'm just blown away.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
I'm going to share one more. I'd like to do A/B testing with ads too, and just getting different ideas about how to
Oh,
target better.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want to do that inside of, and if you remember from our conversation, do that inside the Google Ads platform. It is built for that. Like it gives you 10 to 15 different options for headlines, descriptions, short and long, lots and lots of images, multiple videos, and it will take all of them and round robin them together, right? And come up with the with the winner. And so what you can use generative AI for is to come up with all of that language based off of your call to action and what you're trying to achieve. And then you can say to it too, okay, give me some thoughts and ideas for images I can use to support all of this. And then video creation and then video scripting. So it's boom, 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 boom. It can help you create all of those assets for that one specific ad. You'll have to do a little more manual work for the video because video is just not there yet, where you can
right,
create I think you can generate up to 16 seconds now, but it's not 30. But there are tools out there where you can create one of those compilation videos where it takes stock video and images and you voice over it. Those exist today. So yeah, you could do all of that for sure. Anybody else have any other questions? Taylor, what do you got?
What about like monitoring platform data? I know there are some CRMs like HubSpot that will kind of like put those all in one place for you, but I feel like some way to kind of monitor because we use a bunch of different platforms for marketing and putting those all like having a way to kind of have that automate so that it kind of just gives me the information would be lovely.
You probably can. It depends. Part of it depends on the platform, but that's where
Okay.
automation would come into play. So you could use Zapier, have it log into those different platforms if you have paid accounts,
Hmm.
extract what you need, use a generative AI to do what you want with that data. Do you want it summarized? Do you want it
Hmm.
categorized? And then have that sent to you in an email. So you could send it to your boss every Monday morning if that's part of your
Ooh,
job to collate and send out a summary of information. And it can then
love
write that initial email for you. Summarize all of this, generate an email for me, and send it and put it in my inbox as a draft.
yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else
Hey,
have questions?
yeah, one more. I don't want to hog it. Hey, Taylor, good to see you.
Good to see you, Dave.
It's funny you sent me the class for this, and I already knew Audrey.
I know that's so funny because you guys started talking and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm not the introductory person."
Funny. Audrey, I found this to be interesting too. I found a website to humanize AI content. It's
Hmm.
undetectable.ai, and it's really interesting. Like if you're passing your information through an AI detector, I'm not sure what other examples out there. Let's say, I don't know if it's a resume or something like that. I know on the other side, they're looking for AI generated content, and undetectable actually humanizes it, and it tells you what platforms it will pass through.
So that has been kind of like one of the weird things about this. So everybody says there's AI detectors out there. There are no AI detectors out there. None.
Come on.
Nothing that within 99% accuracy can say yes, this is AI or no, it's not. And I played with them, right? I put in stuff I wrote and says, oh, there's 10% AI here. I'm like, no, there's not. Bec so you can use a tool like that, but what you wanna do when you start writing is you wanna what I call is your brand voice or your writing voice. You can write a little script that says, "Here's how I want you to write," right? Write like Tony Robbins if you wanna use a person's persona, or you can say, "Write as a, a professional tone. I want it to be funny. I want it to be this." You can upload something you originally wrote and say, "Give me the tone and style of this," and then if you inject that before you ask it to do things for you, it's going to write in your tone and style, and it's not going to sound like an AI because we've seen the AI kind of stuff out there. But if you do what I call a voice brand script, um, that's going to be it's going to be pretty hard for a human to tell the difference. And like I said, the AIs, there's no really good detection tool out there yet. I'm sure something will happen, but not yet.
I
To
remember
know
when oh so,
I'm sorry, to know in college, they basically when I was in college a few years ago, they basically had, um, detectors for AI and that type of stuff, and, like, you could write something completely yourself and get flagged for AI, like, they really,
Yeah,
truly
they don't
have no
work.
idea. Yeah,
Right,
they
because
don't know how
it's
to detect it.
natural language, right? And
Right.
maybe you sound like a bougie bot. I don't know, but they should still accept it. All right, so let me get through these last couple of slides, and I will stay on a little bit longer for anybody else that has questions. But I want to respect everybody's time and try to get us close to
yeah,
12 o'clock as
thank
possible.
you for doing that. That'd be great. I need
All
you for a
right,
full day.
that can be arranged. Um, okay, let's talk about. So I got you guys excited. That was my goal. You're going to create all of these things. You've got to maintain it, right? Don't create a Frankenstein that you cannot control. So you want to start documenting from the start. That's why I talked about workflows before. You want to create workflows and then as they change, update them so that there is a um, documented plan of how all this stuff works. And when you write a prompt that you love, create a prompt library. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You can use a spreadsheet, you can use a Google document. Just write it so that you can copy and paste it and you're not reinventing the wheel every time, right? Because maybe you did one and you're like, oh, I asked this, let me update the prompt. And also so you can share it, right? Because if you are going to hire that virtual assistant that you're going to train, trust me, if you can help create processes and prompts, all of a sudden you take this low level person and you turn them into a rock star. So, as like Dave was saying, there's a tool for this, there's a tool for that, there's Zapier, there's all these things, there's ChatGPT, there's Claude, there's other stuff. Keep track of your licensing fees and costs and review them quarterly, annually. Pete knows what I'm talking about. You can show up one day and you're paying for the same thing 4 different times because a system updated and included it in their feature set without charging you. So make sure you know what you own and how much it's costing you. A perfect example is I love Canva, but we've all gotten the Canva notice that they are increasing our licensing fees by 300% because of all the AI they injected into it. And I'm like, I don't think so. Right. So I'm changing my plan. I'm looking at alternative options because ethically and from a value perspective, that's wrong. Right. Charge me extra for the AI. Don't just automatically change my licensing and I don't have a thing I could do about it. Right. Part of this is all of this is cloud based. Like 99.9% of it's cloud based. So make sure you're keeping up to date, not with just the latest versions, make sure everything stays updated, but that you know what the latest versions can do. I had a client where they had a CRM system that they bought 5 years ago. And then we're looking at it, we're talking about it. I'm like, well, they're like, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. I'm like, yes, it does. Well, it didn't when I bought it. Well, they added things and everybody's adding artificial intelligence to the systems now. What you have to decide is do you want that unitasker or do you want to use something like a multitasker like ChatGPT? And you're going to need automation in there too. Testing. Just because your prompt works today does not mean it's going to work 3 months from now. Models change, how they work changes every time they and it doesn't have to be a model name change. Like they'll go in and do an update to ChatGPT 4.0, and then we see things acting funny with some of our prompts. We got to tweak them a little bit, and then they're okay. That's the other reason for a prompt library, right? Because then if you have to tweak it, everybody gets the tweak, and then best practices should be you go and you pull it from the master list every time you use it because you don't know when it was tweaked. And automations, they need to be checked because again, systems update, they ask you to relog in, things break. And so you want to make sure that if you have an automation running for you, that it actually happens when it's supposed to. But the nice thing is you only have to usually check that maybe monthly or quarterly. Alrighty, that is it for me for this. Hopefully everybody got something out of it. Like I said, you're going to get the recording. Go back, listen to it as often as you want. What I want is for you to be able to use the information here. If you feel like you need more, right? Like Dave said, I need a whole day. That can be arranged. I had paid workshops as part of this. That way, it's not just for you. The biggest question I get from business owners and CEOs is how do I implement this in my company? First step is bring someone in and do a workshop 1, 2, 3 hours. Get everybody on the same page of what they can do and what they can't do. And then you can follow up with okay, strategically, what is our strategic roadmap for AI from this point forward? And that's going to help with a myriad of things marketing, sales, saving time, reducing costs, increasing costs because you're processing leads faster. Sky's the limit. So if that's something that you're interested in, we can have a further conversation. Okay, that is it. So if anybody has to go, um, feel free to email me questions. If you respond to the meeting, all the MailChimp invitations I sent out, I will get that. Um, and we can have a conversation.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Did you have anything else, Taylor? I didn't know if you had any more questions. Madeline,
Um,
you've been awfully quiet, but go
I,
ahead, Taylor.
all of a sudden, I'm quiet. No, not at the moment. I think that the Zapier automation, I'm going to look into that a ton and kind of see what I can do with it because some of my other use cases were kind of similar. It's like data tracking that I'm having trouble with being consistent on because when you're
Yeah.
like going, we're doing all these networking and we're building a website and all that. Like I don't have time to sit in front of the computer and like individually track by platform what data we have. So I'm going to check that out. If I have any other questions, I'll email you. I
Yeah.
appreciate this so much.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you found this one helpful, and now you can
Yes.
re-listen to it over. It, like you said, if